Going live.
You're live. So it's live now. Sound probably won't be all. You know what? I'm gonna have to bring my mic next time for this one so that it can sound that much better.
Oh,
So might actually turn that one off. But, yeah. Okay, so we'll get going. Oh, I gotta get live on the that might help on that one. Checking connection. You're now live. Okay. So
we are live.
if they cut off, they cut off. If they don't, they don't. You got a couple different ways for people to check us out.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. And I'm gonna hit record now. Sweet. Hey everybody out there in podcast land. This is Sever Henderson again for another episode of Department 3C Presents. I have a guest who is into chaplaincy. That's what we're going to talk about, faith religion, how to deal with different issues in your first responder career. I have Dan Persinger sings.
Yep.
Persinger, yeah. Okay. And we're going to talk about his life, his story. Like I said, chaplaincy is what he's into. And we're going to dive into all those subjects today. So without any further ado, Dan, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me today, Sam. Dan Persinger, born and raised in Rockford, Illinois, and been in the fire service probably about 10 plus years now, doing different things, doing ride-alongs through Boy Scouts, and then doing ride-alongs through Rockford Fire Department and Chicago Fire Department.
Okay, so let's talk about how you got involved. What kind of get going with the fire department?
Yeah, my driving force was watching the TV show Emergency, the 70s show from Emergency, and just seeing the fire trucks. Like, that is what I want to do. That's what I want to do for my career.
Now, you're a pretty young guy. How did you see that show Emergency?
Beautiful thing called a rerun.
Yeah, I think it comes on like UTV now. I still see it every now and then. So
Yeah.
And they had like the pack they called out, had to call people on the phone or call the hospital to get orders for everything.
Biophones and everything. I even got these beautiful things on DVD.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're really into it.
Oh yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. That's what's up.
No.
So like I said, you started off, you saw Emergency, you said, hey, I want to do that. I want to go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about what kept going. Well, you know what, front, because of A, the chaplaincy, but B, you had medical condition in your life that happened that kind of prevented you from going all the way in with the fire department. So we don't want to that or brush over that. We're going to talk about that and get to that as well.
Yeah.
But so tell me what happened leading up. Like you were an explorer and things like that. What issues came with that?
So it was mainly the walking issues. So as other people would say, I kind of walked like a deer or Bambi. So that's actually one of my nicknames in the fire service is Bambi.
Bambi? Okay.
Yeah. So it was that they were making a joke out of it. And then I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. Then I told them I was diagnosed, so kind of put in the guilt trip a little bit.
Did they feel bad about it after?
Oh yeah. And you know, this story is still great, and it's funny that Drew Helzer and I, we get a good kick out of it every time.
From Bambi to now it's something else. Okay. So you got diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. When did that happen?
Yeah, I was diagnosed July 5th of 2012, so going into my senior year of high school.
Okay, so you were getting ready to be a senior, just starting off, kind of knew what you wanted to do, and then bam, here this comes.
Yeah. So leading up to that, just kind of backtrack just a little bit. So always had the walking issue, just something different was going on with me, just a little different. But then we finally figured out that it was muscular dystrophy. That was the weird thing about me.
Okay. Now you said something different. Can you explain that to me a little better?
Yeah. So like an average person walking, their normal walking, mine was just a little bit different. Always had a little bounce to myself.
Okay.
Always walked on my toes.
Okay. All right. I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And so it hit you then. When you were in high school, like what else were you doing? Where you got muscular dystrophy?
Mm-hmm. So the fact that they said I had muscular dystrophy and that the doctor said I can't be a firefighter is like, oh, geez, thanks for telling me something that I didn't want to hear that. Nobody ever wants to hear a diagnosis, you know?
Right.
So in high school, middle school and high school, I was involved in sports, extracurricular. I played in the marching band, was a competitive swimmer, which I loved doing that. That was fun for me to do. And it was good therapeutic also.
Right. Now, I know before we were talking about you in the water, you said you was like in there like a fish. I was asking for some tips and tricks.
Yeah.
And you like, I'll smoke you in the water.
I'll smoke you in the water. You'll be eating my bubbles. Have you ever just thought about the word bubble? That's a fun word to say. Just say bubble.
Bubble. Yeah, it's bubble. And we're in the right place to say it. So you had those issues. You were you were doing extracurriculars, and then it just kind of hit you. How did you deal with that? Other than just, oh man, this is a bummer. How did you feel?
My heart just sank, you know. And come to think of it, now that I'm more mature and more years on me, that was a big heartbreak right there.
Right. I can understand.
Saying, because I've been involved doing ride-alongs for a couple years, and then being involved in the explorers through fire departments in the Rockford area. It's like, this is what I was planning on doing, and then it's just taken away from me, just completely taken away from me.
So it just, like I said, just worse than just down. I'm not trying to put you back in the down spot.
Yeah, no.
It seems so much like you natural, like you were saying, people was making jokes and now the jokes are funny. How did you get there?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is when it comes to any type of medical condition, and I've learned this through doing my chaplaincy work that we've talked about before, and it's the word forgiveness.
Okay.
Forgiving the disease.
Okay. That's interesting. That's something I've never heard. Forgiving a disease. That's interesting. And I think that's something that people don't get to do.
Yeah. So after taking time to process it all, and then try to put in the positive mindset that, hey, you have this. Play your cards correctly and you'll live a happy life, even with muscular dystrophy. And I love talking about my story because it's my story, and it helps me process it even more on a deeper level.
A lot of people need to do I have problems, and sometimes we try and hide them or put them away, but it sounds like what you're saying is it's just better to get it out. Say something.
It's better to get it out, and also acknowledging it's okay to not be okay.
Love that too. It's okay to not be okay. So those are both great points of advice from a young man that has some things figured out. Now, when we were talking before, I made the mistake of calling it MS, and you corrected me like you're supposed to. You said no, it's muscular dystrophy. For anybody else that may be confused, such as myself, explain to us what muscular dystrophy is and what's the difference between it and other diseases, or not other issues. I might be even calling it the wrong thing. So give me the whole education and the listeners as well, so that we can be up.
It is a neurological disease that attacks the muscles in your body. So there's over 40 different types, and within those types, there's multiple subtypes. So with me, I've been put into the limb-girdle muscular dystrophy. Okay. So basically, from my hips down is where my weakness is from, and for other people, it affects other parts of the body: upper, lower, mid-body, the facial area. So there's multiple ways or forms of muscular dystrophy. I just happen to get from the hips down.
Okay.
And kind of like how I kind of explained it to you, corrected you on the MS and MD, just for other people to realize is that MS and MD, they're two separate diseases. MD is muscular dystrophy, so that's the muscles. And muscular sclerosis, MS, that is more the nervous system.
Okay. More, like I said, that was my mistake. Thank you for educating.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. As far as the diagnosis, did you have any family history or anybody else along the line have muscular dystrophy?
No, nothing in my family.
Nothing in your family, so it just kind of came out of anywhere.
Or
nowhere.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. I'm the odd duck of the family. And I'm proud to acknowledge that I'm the odd duck.
Okay. And you said your dad, your mom, you got a brother too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so nobody else, no aunts, no uncles, anything like that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, cool. Let's talk about the fact that your ride time and how you arrived into the Explorers program. And
Yeah.
you started off in Rockford, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
give me a breakdown of how that went.
So how I actually kind of got into that was thanks to my swim coach, Deb Carlson, and one of the family members was, and she knew that I wanted to do firefighting as a career. So she helped me get a connection through the fire department. They got me set up to ride, and then jump forward a few years. So that was going into my freshman year of high school. So just the weekend before, actually, of going into my freshman year of high school, I was able to do a ride along. And did I ever tell you my first call?
No, let's hear
It was a fire.
it. Your first call was a fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although it was just more what Chicago says, like a pot of meat. But,
Oh,
but hey, it was still a fire. They still had a little bit of smoke, so I was like, all right, it's a fire.
yeah, you can count that. I
Yeah.
like that. Fire, smoke,
So we were on scene and then we left. But so jump forward a few years later, I was doing my Eagle Scout project, and my Eagle Scout project was a memorial honoring firefighters, and they let me never expect for them just to say, hey, you helped out a lot. You can ride whenever you want to.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
So it was kind of cool. Never expected that to come out of that situation.
Yeah, firefighters were pretty cool sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Then other times, ooh,
It's something else.
it's something else.
Well, that's awesome. So your journey was from Rockford, kind of in the Explorers program. And for anybody, I mean, this is a first responder show, and most people know what the Explorers program is. But for those that don't, could you explain what an Explorer program is?
Yeah. So Explorer program, it's actually through the Boy Scouts of America, and there's multiple different forms of explorers out there. There's sea explorers, there's mechanic explorers, and you pick a kind of a career and you just explore that career. So for fire, you explore the fire service, you put back on, jump on the trucks, and train with the guys.
What ages does this start at?
I believe 14 or 15.
14 or 15. Okay. That sounds awesome. I'm sure we had an Explorers program, but I just kind of started hanging out in the firehouse. That's just what I did.
Yeah.
And the guy who actually hired me, that's what he did. He was a little kid, like the whole neighborhood, just going and hanging out at the firehouse. So,
And those stories are awesome too.
Yeah. They're really cool. So tell me some more about your Explorer background and kind of what else got going out there in Rockford.
So doing the programs, I truly embraced it. As any job, you should be able to embrace it. The fire service, I took hold of that and I just ran with it. I love it.
As we say all the time, too, it's the best job in the world.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we had one of my instructors when I was in the academy. He would say, the best job in the world to me. He said, because to me it is, but to you it might not be.
Yeah.
Because some of the people, they just wasn't picking up on things. But said, to me, you can go do whatever else you want to do. So you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. To me, it's the best job in the world.
Okay. So tell me, obviously you got to the point where walking became difficult. You couldn't be a firefighter. And you moved into the chaplaincy. How did that come about?
Yeah. So beautiful thing called the internet. Just kind of cruising around there and came across the Illinois Corps of Fire Chaplains.
Okay.
And that's how I saw them and called them up, and the person explained it. This group no longer exists anymore. They had like an internship chaplain in my area to mentor or for me to shadow and everything.
Okay.
So found a chaplain in the Rockford area for North Park Fire Protection District. And I was actually an explorer for them, first off, in late middle school, early high school is when I went to North Park. And then shadowed the chaplain there, and then I got on the fire department there as one of their assistant chaplains.
Okay, that's cool. So I'm from out of state, and I say that all the time, but from being in the Illinois area, and Chicago's the biggest city in Illinois, how far, and give me a little bit of explanation of where Rockford is, North Park, just the different areas you're talking about.
Yeah. So Rockford is a hour and a half northwest of Chicago.
Okay.
It's probably now the fourth or fifth largest city in the state.
Okay.
But it's the second. The city of Rockford is the second largest and busiest fire in the state.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So then North Park, it's one of the county fire departments, I guess you can say.
Got it.
Yeah. So it's just a few miles north of Rockford.
Okay. That sounds awesome. Sounds great out there. I like exploring and seeing different places and just seeing how people work and do things differently. So.
Oh yeah, that's the beautiful thing about the fire service is each department has their own way of doing things.
Absolutely.
It's the Chicago way, it's the Rockford way, it's the North Park way, it's the Blackhawk and Milford way.
Yeah. And we go and we can have conversations with each other about everything.
And we can find that relationship right there.
Right. We can always find something to talk about. The thing that's cool to me, like Firewise, you talk to somebody from Tshirt, and they might have a different word for the same thing.
Yeah.
But you know what they're talking about at the same time. So that's always awesome to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now with your chaplaincy, you didn't just stop at fire, you do police also. Can you talk to me about that a little?
Yeah. So I do a police chaplaincy, so it's I don't know how many even it's kind of a different ballgame a little bit, but similar in nature. Police officers that you really gotta gain their trust because they're not gonna open up to you.
Yeah.
Unlike firemen, we might open up a little bit quicker, but the police, you really gotta dig into them and build that relationship.
They're very like kind of closed off, non-trusting.
Yeah.
Well, that comes with it's like everyone's a suspect.
Yeah, exactly. And they need a chaplain with them in the cars when we're able to ride.
Yeah,
that's one thing I actually kind of enjoy doing is riding with the police. You see a different part of life.
Well,
you see
yeah.
So police as firefighters, we see the good and bad. Police see the good and bad. But as a police officer, you're first on scene.
Right.
Generally, before an ambulance or a fire truck gets there, you are first in on everything.
Yeah.
So you truly get to see more of the dark side of society.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, you get to see the beautiful side of life, but you see a lot of the dark side of humanity.
Yeah. And having to deal with that and hang out there is just traumatic within itself.
Firefighters, you can debrief it right there in the firehouse. As a cop, you're in your car by yourself. And you go to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next.
Unless, some have partners, some don't.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's just going to the next, to the next, to the next. It's just
and you don't have time to process
constant build up of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't find a constructive way to do something with that, bad results can occur.
Yeah, that's why I'm a big supporter of peer support, and also reaching out for professional help through a counselor, just to be able to unpack your traumas or your life stresses. Also, is very helpful.
Right, I 1000% agree. That's something I advocate for. Honestly, I'm sure I've said it already on this show. That's kind of why I've started this whole movement. That's why I wrote the book that I wrote on a podcast and talk about it and have tough, heavy conversations. Because I'm going to get to the reasons why and see if we can come up with a solution other than the ultimate solution when people go that far.
Yeah.
So, but that's great of you. So as far as chaplaincy go, I'm going to be 100% honest. I was raised in a religious household, but in my adult life, I'm not very religious now. What would you say to someone like myself that isn't very religious when it comes to maybe talking to a chaplain?
The cool thing about being a chaplain is, and Father Crone, he words it very beautifully, being able to be present. As a chaplain, I'm if you're not as faithful or as if you're not a religious person, that's perfect. But being a chaplain, I get to have the honor of being truly present with you when you're going through the darkest of times in your life and when you're going through the happiest times of your life. So some of the darker things, just as an example of maybe you have in your mind that you're wanting to commit suicide, or you're just going through an addiction, and then the brightest time is the birth of a kid,
Right.
and or being in a wedding or things like that. So I get to see both worlds in people, and that's the coolest thing, is to be present. I don't have to say anything, just to be present, and having myself acknowledge that I'm holding the authority of God. I don't have to say anything. I'm not going to push an agenda when I'm coming talking to you. If you want to open up to me, I'm not going to push that agenda, because that's wrong in my opinion.
Okay.
If you want to go spirit, if you want to go,
Mhm.
I have no issue with that.
Mhm.
That's my, to be present. That's the ultimate blessing that I get to experience, is being with you, and even to validate that it's okay to not be okay today.
Right. That's what I said. I love that. So you're just there to offer that ear.
Yeah,
Just
that
whatever
ear,
you
that
need to talk
friendship,
about.
the shoulder, if you need to cry on, whatever.
And that's traumatic within itself. A lot of times people bring their traumas to you after you've dealt with people you don't even know. And for me, I don't deal with that the best with people I don't know. I still care what happens to these people that I don't know, and then you have to take and do something with that. And for you to be able to talk to people, that is an awesome thing.
Yeah, and I mentioned it to you the last time I was talking with you, is that, and you're struggling, we're going to be able to make the connection just a little bit more easier.
Yeah. So, right, I got this issue going on. You got an issue what I may think is bigger going on. So it kind of gives you a ground to talk to each other.
Yeah,
Something more in common that we can come together on.
exactly.
Well, I really appreciate the part where you said I'm not going to push anything on you, because all too often, religious people, the people are like, whatever they feel like, they just say, yeah, you got to feel like this too.
Yeah, no, I just, that just irks me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I agree with that part, and I appreciate you saying that, because, like I said, that's something that some people, I feel, when it comes to who they're going to talk to, who they're going to confide in, that's how they can just get everything off your mind and want somebody judging you.
Yeah, and if you're going to come talk to me, if you're going to unpack some things with me, I'm going to end my judgment on you.
Okay.
You must suspend the judgment. We all have judgments on each other.
Right.
But
Everybody.
Yeah, but you must suspend it for that time, because you're going to unpack some raw and fresh stuff possibly.
Now, as far as becoming a chaplain, and I know you said you like the assistant, you did a little bit of training. How did you get to the point where you're so emotionally available and able to process all this stuff within yourself and for other people?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't really actually thought much about that, but for me to be emotionally there with you, I have to be able to unpack, share. So you're gonna dump it on me, I'm gonna dump my things onto somebody else.
Yeah.
So I have a counselor. I have other friends that I truly trust, that are not going to say anything to somebody else.
Right. So, and talking to other people, they say every time you get something, just gotta scrape a little bit off on somebody.
Yes, exactly.
That's like, for me, people always talking about looking for the meaning of life, and just for me, the meaning of life is to be there for somebody else. I mean, of course, you got to be there for yourself and be happy.
Oh yeah.
For me, the meaning is to make everybody and everything around you better. But
that's the part of being present.
that's the part of being present. That's just me. That's just
yeah.
That's how I feel. So that's, like I said, I don't want to push that off on anybody else. But that's how I feel. So I was talking to you about studying and becoming a chaplain. So did we go over that?
The departments that I'm a chaplain for. So I'm a chaplain for the city of Rockford Police and Fire, and then 2 of the volunteer part-time paid on call, however you want to look at it.
Okay.
For Blackhawk and New Milford. New Milford has a full-time ambulance during the daytime, and then Blackhawk, it's we're in the process, I guess, of combining those 2 departments.
Okay.
So in my eyes, it makes sense to do that. So the ambulance is full-time during the day, so they have a full-time ambulance in New Milford during the daytime, and then at nighttime, Blackhawk's ambulance will take over the nighttime calls and run.
Understandable.
Yep.
That's something that a lot of career guys fail to remember or know. You know, when you go to different places in our country, they just run, like we were talking about, they run stuff different.
Yeah.
I remember when I first was coming up, like,
Wait, just be done with calls?
yes.
Oh.
We would go from 8 to 11, and then we got it extended to 7 to midnight. And now they're 24 hours. So it just kind of takes steps to go in the proper direction.
Mhm.
But when they did close, another suburb would take over the run
Okay.
for that smaller village.
I got you.
So yes, they would be closed, but when somebody called 911 at a different time of night, it would just be redirected to another
Okay.
department.
I was like, how are you going
How
to be closed? Yeah.
Well, that's what
I thought the fire service was 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
it is, and it's led by career and volunteer people all over this country, and you know they get it done.
Yeah.
And that all goes with training. It speaks to training.
Yeah.
You just have to be there and be present for it, so you can first reward, but low frequency, high frequency, high call, low call, stuff like that.
Train the way you're going to play.
Yep, there you go.
I love that.
Oh, you were talking about being a chaplain, a fire and police chaplain for out there in the different areas.
Mhm.
What kind of training goes into that other than just the follow?
So for some departments, to be like the full chaplain, you have to be ordained as a minister, which I have my own opinions on that, which I'll keep that to myself.
Okay.
Yeah, but I highly recommend clinical pastoral education. That's where you can really hound your chaplain skills and everything, and then most importantly, have a want to be there.
Oh, well, yeah, that's number one.
Yeah, have a want to be. Not really wanting to be there, then you're in it for the T-shirt, and that drives me nutty.
Yes, that is not.
If you're in for the T-shirt, get out.
Go home.
Go
Yes.
home. Go home.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they'll figure out you're just in for the T-shirt. Just heads up.
Okay. Now, look, as far as the calls go, when are you called in, or when do they need you?
Yeah. So when I was able-bodied, when I was walking at the time, I no longer go on the calls because just wheelchairing, being able to access people's houses is a pain in the butt at times. So I'm behind the scene now. But when I was able-bodied, I would go on overdoses, any codes where people are doing CPR on people, any deaths, and for the city, it when I was on call for 48 hours, it was you're on nature of it, and to be present with the families of first responders that are there, and occasionally some of those calls ended up going into a death notification, having to notify a family of that their loved one is not coming home.
Okay. Did you ever have to deal with that?
One too many. I tell people I got pretty good at doing it, and it's scary that I say that. I got pretty good at doing it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is kind of scary. That
Yeah.
You got good at doing something that people dread. It's terrible having to kill somebody if their loved one's passed.
That's the hardest thing in the world. I tell people that I've done the hardest thing in the world is to tell somebody that their loved one is dead.
Yeah, I've had to do that multiple times as well, more than I would like to count. I didn't have chaplaincy training.
Yeah.
So
And kind of here's the dark humor part of it. So with doing the death notification, as soon as the chaplain comes on, they don't want to do it.
They kind of hand it over.
Yeah, they hand it over. They're like, how in the world do you do that?
Yeah.
Somebody has to.
Right, that's the thing. Because like you just take the empathy, and what I try and do in those situations is just think how I would want someone to talk or tell me.
Yeah.
And in the end, that's how I try and do all the calls I go on with people that are in bad shape or hurt. Like, what do you need? What would I want done? How would
exactly
be helped? So.
And I was young at the time when I did my first death notification. I was 22.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is pretty young to start doing death notifications. Okay. So little baby bit lighter.
Yep.
How did you start riding with the city of Chicago?
Oh yeah. So here's the fun stuff. So I photographer. So he was coming through Rockford one time. So we met up and everything, and he saw that I was trying to become a firefighter or not firefighter, chaplain.
Okay.
So he's like, "Have you ever heard of the name Firewise Crohn's?" I'm gonna get you hooked up with him.
Okay.
So he gave me his contact. I ended up reaching out to Fowler Crone and asked him, "Hey, can I come shadow you for a day?" He's like, "Absolutely."
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he took me to 95, engine 95 on the west side.
Yep.
And they invited me back to do Rylands.
My whole battalion.
Yeah. I'm wearing their shirt.
You wearing their shirt?
Yeah. West side, best side.
Okay, so what happened? Give me some 95 stories.
Yeah. So it was probably I'm a white cloud, so of course they loved having me around because it was just nice and quiet and everything.
Goes certainly with nothing, and we prefer the nothing.
Yeah, which I don't mind doing the nothing also, but it's like the history of the West Side, seeing the fires and everything. It's like, all right, time to get a fight. Yeah, how did I miss that?
Right.
So it was when the fires was my first fire was probably like a year later.
Okay.
So I went a whole year off and on,
Hanging out,
and not catching a doggone thing.
not getting anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, they loved you.
Oh yeah. They love
Come
me.
back more.
Yeah. So I'll tell about this fire, and then I got to put this one out there. So the first fire was 312 North Central.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that fire, and that was I don't think we had any calls during the day, maybe a few here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sit down in the recliner, and the clucker goes off,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
and he's like, April is like 30th, I think.
Uh-huh.
I think there's 30 days in March, I think.
Hold on, I already skipped it.
Well, it was either 30th or 31st.
No, it's 31 in March.
31. Oh yeah. So we get going, and engine 96 gets on scene. 96, give me a box, and Timothy and I we're hauling even more. He's like, April Fools, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't at that fire, but I remember because it was on the second shift, and I remember when we came back and we did walk through and saw everything that happened. 312 North Central. That's a big building. That's a nice size apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
Used to go there multiple times a day. Not just for fires, a lot of EMS runs in that building.
Mm-hmm.
So keep telling us. Keep telling us more about that.
Yeah. So we had that fire. That was my first, I think, extra alarm, because you went to. I know your city, like.
Yep.
You got to upgrade as soon as you can. And here in Chicago, those apartments are closer, buildings are closer to each other. So
Right.
You got
Exposures and everything.
Yeah, you got
a lot more to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now let's backtrack to the first time I rode.
Okay.
So walk in the morning, and she's like, "Whatever you do, don't let me beat you to the buggy."
Okay.
I was like, "All right, challenge accepted."
Okay.
So Timothy told me that, challenge accepted. So now we get a call during the middle of the night. It's cold box, I think it was, and who beats him to the buggy?
This guy.
This guy.
That guy.
And that was the laughing stock of the whole shift.
Were you walking in? Or
Yeah, I was walking in.
Okay. I know you were talking about the progression. What were the canes that you used?
Loft strand.
Loft strand. Okay.
Yeah. And hiking pole.
Okay.
Yeah, so hiking pole and then the loft strand.
But you still beat him.
I still beat him.
That's what's up.
He says the AC was up and he didn't hear the tone go off or anything. Excuses, I know. and I still get the bragging rights. I still joke around with him.
Yeah, tell him about how you beat him.
Yeah, I thought I misheard the initial dispatch, so I'm sitting in the buggy waiting for him to come out. So the guys that on watch had to go wake him up.
Yeah, so you really beat me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's up. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like I said, he was on a different shift, but he was there for as long as I was there, and he was a great chief at the time to work on that shift or on trade or anything.
Yeah, I got another fire story from him.
I'm with you. Come on.
So we get a fire on North Pulaski. I forget it was a good rolling fire. This one was rocking and rolling. So we get back to the firehouse after the fire, and the guys are like, "Hey, chief, what do you think about those dogs that were in the way?" And so Timothy's, screw those dogs and everything. Just he was irritated with them. You could tell. And then the new guy, he used to be a veterinarian, so the guys that like Chief used to be a vet, and all you hear from Chief is like,
just because he was talking bad about the dog.
yeah, exactly, guilt trip.
Yeah. And you know what's so funny about dogs and fires? Like the most vicious dog in a fire, when it's catching some smoke, will be your best friend.
Oh yeah,
Best friend dog. Dog will come up to you, lick you, jump in your arms, please save me. As soon as it get outside, it just turned back to the firefighter in the same battalion. He was leaped out, he's going into a room. Dog bit his arm, and the guys behind him pushing like, "Hey, go!" He's like, "I can't." He was like, "Why? Dog bite me!" So take that arm out, try and go with the other dog, bite that arm too.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, dog just did him dirty. So
darn dogs.
Yeah, but like I said, they in the fire, the meanest vicious dog is a cat. And you get it outside, it's time to be back tough again and bite your face off.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs are fun.
Yeah.
I don't have nothing bad to say about dogs.
Oh no.
So
I love dogs.
you like roll with 95, but like the thing I see from you, you're like everywhere now in Chicago. You ride in so many different places and just go fan, hang out in so many different places. Tell me about some of your other favorite firehouses that you get to hang out at.
Engine 123 tire in 118, I think it is. Yeah, in 118. So down in northern or West Inglewood.
Okay.
So that the Inglewood neighborhood, that's a fun neighborhood to go hang out with you guys. Every firehouse I've gone to, they open up the doors, open arms.
Yeah.
Open the firehouse, open arms.
Yeah. It's nowhere you can go that's going to be bad.
No.
There's no firehouse that you can go that's going to be not a good place to go.
It might be in a rough neighborhood, but the firehouse itself,
even still.
Yeah, even still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And caught a really good fire, 59th and Carpenter.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a memorable fire. Okay. Chief Basil and I were doing rounds at 116, and 116 they just gotten back from a medical call, and they drove by where the fire was.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. That house was. So they were going out on a medical call. The alarm officer told us and said, "Take a still, 59th and Carpenter."
Mm-hmm.
So we get going, and there you go.
And there you go, rolling when you pull it up.
Yep.
That's like I said. Those what you. It sucks for the person whose stuff it is, but
yeah,
for us to get those opportunities is what we kind of thrive on.
Yeah, it's what you train to do.
Right. It's what we train to do. Absolutely. So those are great that you got to go on be in those fires, and even though that's what you wanted to do, and then you had the medical condition pop up, you still have such a bright and positive outlook on life, and that's what I really appreciate, and that's what I really want to push and promote to people. Now, speaking of promotion, you have a podcast of your own that you and another chaplain just started.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I want to backtrack real quick. Okay. So with having the muscular away from me, I still dream. Yeah, in a different capacity, but I still get to live my dream. Yeah, and that's the part that I love.
Hey, I love that you.
It's how you play your deck of cards.
There you go. Exactly. There you go. So tell us about your show.
Yeah. So through the quarantine, COVID-19 has been a blessing in disguise for me, and got involved with this group. It's called FD Chaplains. Chaplain Services Inc. Okay. Yeah, FD Chaplain Services Inc. And every Thursday night we have a National Fire Department Chaplain Zoom meeting at 6:00 Central Time, and chaplains from all over the country. It's just a big support group, so it's peer support for chaplains.
So that's basically like one of those times where you can scrape a little bit of the stuff off.
Yep, you can do that. We learn from each. So that, and then we've had different prone.
Okay.
On the Leah Schwinitsky, she medic on the south side. Okay. We had her on there, and a few other people. Jeff Dill from Firefighter Health Alliance. Okay. And Tom Howard from the Illinois Firefighter Peer Support.
Okay. So those are all great, outstanding people to have and great people to talk to.
Yeah.
Any words of advice they gave you that you can share with us?
The one from Moctrone is that be present.
Be present.
Embrace that. And one from Jeff Dill. Going back to another darker topic again with the suicides. This is my biggest push.
Yeah.
Is the peer support, the reaching out for help, acknowledging that you need help.
Right.
And that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to reach out.
Yeah.
Is the peer support, the reaching out for help, acknowledging that you need help.
Right.
And that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to reach out. You're humans. You have to do that. And we are susceptible to our emotions. And I'm writing about this in school and on first responder suicide. It's a very real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And these numbers, they are large, they are scary, and they need to be exposed.
I agree 100,000 infinity%. That's not even a thing. But yes.
It is now.
and that's like I said, that's why I'm starting this. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Kind of a personalist question.
Mm-hmm.
When someone finally gets the courage to say something to someone and
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling messed up, help me out, what's the best advice you can give for the person that's getting the news? Not the person talking, but the person who's getting information.
Mm-hmm. Suspend the judgment that you have on them. You must suspend it. Because they are going to, this person's going to act on herself. And you need to be present. And take time to listen. Be present and listen. You don't even have to say a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen. Give them your undivided attention. Because they're going to unpack some raw things. Because that's them dealing with their deepest times right now. So listening is the biggest key in being present.
That's great advice. Just listen.
Mm-hmm.
I think too often people try to come up with a solution for someone else's issue.
Yep. Listen and realize you can't fix them.
Right.
Just listen. That will do millions for that person.
Right. So just chill out. Don't say nothing. Just kind of.
Mm-hmm. Maybe toss in a few wise advice here or there, possibly. It depends on the situation, like everything. But
because, like to me, people always say, "Oh, I wish they would have called. I wish they would have called." They might have called, and you're not listening and just quick to respond.
Mm-hmm.
You may not even heard their cry for help. So
yeah,
that's the part that if somebody takes the time to call and say, hey, I'm feeling messed up, try and do your best to take that time to listen.
Yep, exactly.
Get to it. So that's all great. So let's kind of wrap up with something lighter. You asked me.
Do you want me to talk about the podcast?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My mistake. I'd ask you about that. Yeah, go.
Oh, no worries. So through the quarantine, one of the other chaplains on the Zoom call, he's from the state of Maine.
Mm-hmm.
So he and I, we took time and prayed about it, and we created a Facebook page about it, and we created a Facebook podcast. Push out this week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Faith and First Responders Podcast. The word first, it's the number 1 ST.
Okay, so FAITH and number 1 ST responders.
Or the first faith and first responders. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Just trying to make sure we got it. Once I start writing show notes and stuff, I'll make sure I add that in there.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing me back to that. I'm still trying to get reps up. This is
Oh yeah.
So I'm, admitting my mistakes, trying to get the ums out.
Hey, it's all right.
That's a joke. So I was saying I wanted to, you asked me a question, kind of go over something a little positive. Well, not positive, but a little fun.
Yeah.
You asked me just out of the blue, what's your favorite firehouse? If you had to be there forever, what firehouse would it be?
There you go.
I've been thinking about this question, diplomatic answer, I think.
Oh.
But I'm going to turn it on you. What's the place that you like hanging out the most?
Of course you touch that my way.
I mean, it's not gonna hurt you. Me, I'm working here.
Hey, the ones that I hang out with, they're gonna hate me now. Nah, they won't hate me.
Yeah, they won't. They won't. Probably.
They'll just jag me a little bit.
Yes, that's what they'll do. That's what we do.
Hey, that's all right. honestly, it would be where my roots would follow Mokro 95
95.
on the west side.
I'm with that. I can see that.
That's where my first ride along with the city of Chicago. It's like that's home for me.
Yep. Nice, flat, long, big house.
And it's handicapped accessible. I love
That's
it.
what I'm saying.
I love it. I love it.
You don't have to worry about stairs or anything. The house that I was at, we had the highest poles in the city,
Uh-huh.
and we just used to hang out on those. So.
Those darn stairs, they're always leaning up to something. I just don't get it.
And that's the other thing I appreciate. When I first called you, first talked to you, you even gave me a wheelchair joke off top.
Since talking with you last night, I can't stand wheelchair jokes anymore. I got a friend in a wheelchair who can't stand them.
See, there you go. You hit us with it. And I was going to ask you to tell it you right on cue, right on time.
And that's my way of coping with the disease also.
Hey, it seems to work because, like I said, you have such a positive, upbeat attitude. It's just a pleasure talking to you and listening to you, especially from somebody so young and was dealt that hand early on in life. To deal with it so positively is truly an inspiration, I feel like, not just for me, but for others. And that's definitely part of the reason why I wanted to. I appreciate you coming on the show and talking to us and giving us your story.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a powerful quote from Dave Parnell. He's a retired, and there's a man's worth that doesn't make this world a better place. Like that speaks millions to me.
Right, that's awesome. I love that too.
What is a man's worth that doesn't make the world a better place?
Right. There you go. Let me answer that question about the firehouse.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not dodging it. The best firehouse, I can't answer it because I have to work at every one. So I have to work at every one of them.
Oh, okay.
And then I can answer it. So once I get there, I used to keep track of, I still do keep track of every company I've been on.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it written down because you get details, trades, and everything else. And that's kind of what I want. That's what I encourage people to do, to get a chance to work different places, kind of see what's up, what's going on. Where I'm at now, I like it a lot.
Downtown, baby.
Where I was at before.
That's right.
Yeah, it was an experience and a half. And then
I love those 2-story firehouses. I love them.
Yeah, they
got tons of character.
Oh man, you said it. They have tons of character. Right.
Man, if I could hear those walls talk, you keep me there. I'll live there.
You'll stay
just to hear the stories those walls could talk about.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that went on and goes on. Some of the stories, even hearing about, I can't believe that those situations happened.
Yeah, and how they got away with them.
Yeah, right. So one day I'll get a old timer to come on and give me some of those good old stories. So
there you go.
Dan, before we get out of here all the way together, and you said a bunch of positive stuff, but I got to ask you for one more positive thing, just about life in general, where we're at right now, the climate of the world, everything. Just give your positive advice that you have.
Mm-hmm. And I've been so confused and lost, and that's coming from a chaplain. Like that, it's show some love to people and don't hate. This hate that's going on is driving me nuts, and it's unfair. The amount of hate from both sides is unfair. From my viewpoint, it's unfair, and just be present and love your neighbor.
Okay, I like that. Be present and love your neighbor. I'm gonna let you end with that. I'm not even gonna add anything on top of it. I'm just gonna thank you for coming in. We had a little mini hiccups on the way getting in here, but
no worries.
We worked it all out. We ironed it all out. We got the chance to put the episode down. I appreciate your effort and people and pushing the service of first responders in a positive direction, because that's what we need.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, we will talk to you guys another time. And thank you very much for listening to another episode of Department 3C Presents podcast. Bye.
Sweet.
Great.
That was fun.
That was cool. I'm not even going to do anything to that.
Hope you didn't mind me adding those little like duck noises. Quack.
No.
The odd duck.
No, that's all the way good, all the way. Like I said,
Can I actually have one of the waters?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wet the whistle.
Like I said, appreciate it more than you know the fact that you drove in here for forever, and like I said, we was gonna have to do this out in the car, and that would have sucked.
Yeah.
But we didn't. Oh, or not. Let me turn this off. In stream.